Welcome to another episode of Business Talk with me, Michael Avery, your trusted tour guide through the world of business, as Trump is certainly upending the rules of the game as fast as little-known Chinese AI startups can. Yes, you're right. We're talking about tech and we're talking about fintech, and it's not just apps that help you split the bill at a braai. It's a lot more than that nowadays. We're diving into the deep end of banking innovation where things like cloud compute, AI, and data analytics aren't just buzzwords. They're the very lifeblood of an industry that is rapidly evolving. And who better to help us navigate that digital evolution than two men who've really spent years convincing banks that Excel spreadsheets from 2005 just aren't going to cut it anymore. Joining me are Jan Ehlers, director at Monacle, who's been helping banks sleep at night by solving some of their most complex risk regulation and compliance nightmares. And we've also got one of the newest members of the team over at Monacle, Mark Beringer, head of Monocle Tech, a man who probably dreams in algorithms, judging by the most recent conversation I had with you, Mark. Great to have you both on with us today. Jan, maybe let's just start with you. Monacle, as we know, has built its reputation as a top-tier consulting firm in financial services. Why did you decide to take this leap now into building Monocle Tech?
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having us today as well. So I've been with Monacle now for 18 years of the 25 years plus that we've been in existence. And we've always focused on the consulting side, so more the business side. And for the years, we sort of, we always had this thing of we can solve business problems. We understand how to price a swap and how regulations work and all of that. But when it came to the implementation side, we were always focused more on the soft tech. And soft tech, we are meaning more your Excel VBA and your SQLs and your Power BI and so forth. And we never could reach that gap where we can fully implement solutions. Our slogan always say we manifest change, and we really want to take that to heart in a sense that we want to basically, from cradle to grave, start with understanding the problem of our clients and then adding value in such a sense that we can implement it into their systems. We've seen that, that is that's sort of where we always, our bread and butter was that gap between IT and business. And coming from a business background, we just understand that, the world is data. If you look at AI, it all starts with data. So if you don't have that full overview of from the start of the business problem all the way through how it exists within the data and how you can use that data to the value of your clients, that's sort of where we say, there's a gap in our offering, and that's what we sort of wanted to help our clients with.
And to then rather bring that capability in-house rather than potentially outsource a lot of that as well. And, Mark, from your vantage point, why do you think now is the right time to launch Monocle Tech? Is it a case of better late than never, or do you believe that the industry as well has also finally reached this tipping point for large-scale digital transformation? It does seem that whenever I chat to bank CEOs at results time, it continues to be the biggest source of capex and spend is on this digital transformation journey that they're undergoing.
Yeah, no, that's great. The banks are spending a lot of money on tech. There's a lot of changes that needs to happen. There's all of these advancements. Cloud continues to grow. There's AI, and they need people to implement these technologies. And the skills aren't always there. And I think that's where we see ourselves making a difference. We want to come in, make a change, and step out again and leave it to the organization to continue running with.
That said, how do you differentiate in a space, especially when it comes to tech, that is a fairly crowded one? What's your elevator pitch for Monocle Tech?
So, we spoke to, so when I sort of hated the whole initiative in terms of starting this whole Monacle Tech with the support of my C-level CEOs and CFOs, CEOs. And what sort of looked where we're different than your normal Monacle Tech. Your normal tech firm is we come from a business background. So we come from understanding bank systems. We understand how treasury works within a bank. We understand how global markets links into treasury and links into your finance. We understand the ecosystem of a bank very well from a business sense. And that sort of gives us an edge different to other IT firms, which normally starts with a sort of a tech view of the world and sort of from understanding how the system works and then understanding the business side. And we've sort of seen just with our service offering over the years that a good consultant, if you just understand the business side but you don't want to get your hands dirty in the actual data, you sort of can only do half of your job really well. But if you understand end to end, you understand really this is the business problem and this is how it can be implemented into a system. That's where the true value lies. And within Monacle Tech, we like to, even myself as one of the partners at Monacle, I still get my hands dirty on a bit of SQL and so forth. And it gives you that really deep understanding. And that's the same way we approach tech as well, understand from the business side, what is the problem? If you take, for instance, treasury reporting to this side, there is hundreds of numbers in terms of if you take regulatory capital, of what your capital adequacy ratio is. But that, in a sense, comes down to data, comes down to the actual values within the system. So how does that data go from your front-end system where the trader logs that trade all the way to your BA report within the SOL? And it's all data linked. And now, through understanding the business side of what that number means, as well as understanding the pipeline of how that data flows through each different system and integration point, that's sort of where we believe we can really add value to our customers.
Absolutely. And then being able to maybe automate a process or a system and gain efficiencies. But, it really reminds me, of often when I'm presenting or facilitating at IT web conferences, for example, and you've got lots of very technically, from an IT perspective, proficient people in the room. But one of the biggest challenges they have is communicating that business value. And, one of the things that was always relayed was you need T-shaped skill sets. So someone who's got a deep understanding in that vertical, but be able to, with the T, bridge that gap. And that's why I think Monacle Tech is so novel and so naturally self-differentiated. But back to skills, Mark, I mean, we keep hearing that the future of banking is digital, but do you think that the banking sector in South Africa actually has the right skills to keep up with that revolution?
I think the skills are limited. You've got a few people that have the skills, but the majority still lack that. And we've found that out of experience. In the last 6 months, we've done 100+ interviews, and I think we've had a success rate of 5%. And we could definitely identify that the skills aren't always necessarily there. And I think at Monacle Tech, that's something that we're taking at heart as well, is really investing in our people and helping them grow their skills. So we put a lot of effort into learning paths and roadmaps for a specific role to help grow people into a level that they can really add value beyond Monacle Tech. So while they're working for us, at the clients, we can do amazing things with the skills that we've learned. But into the future as well, working outside of Monacle Tech, they'll continue adding value because we're really investing in specific tech skills, from data engineering, AI engineering, ML engineering, DevOps, software engineering. So we put a lot of effort into that content to get people to the right level.
Yeah, and to build on that, I mean, is it a question of now having to go and really develop that talent pipeline yourselves? Because it is a very unique skill set that you're looking for, someone who understands the intricacies of certain parts of Basel reporting and IFRS and all of those things, along with IT and SQL and coding. How are you approaching it at Monacle Tech?
So look, I think the big thing for us is this is not an entire separate new organization we're creating here. It's a division of the greater Monacle. So we see intense collaboration between our Monacle consulting leg and our Monacle Tech leg. I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is within Monacle, we always pride in our people. I think we always use the words, our people are our biggest asset, and we always try to drive that through our culture, that they do come first. And I think that's also why for us, we went through all these interviews, is we're looking for a specific type of people that has that first full knowledge. I know Mark is always hammering around the foundations of tech. I come more from a business background, but when it comes to tech, Mark understands, and that foundation is very important to us to not only get a certification in some sort of cloud application, but actually understand what it actually means from a technical principal point of view.
And
Yeah,
it's
but
so
just to add
interesting,
to
you
that,
know, Mark, just to add on that, interesting to see how many banks have made that journey into cloud. They've got some of their core systems on-prem. Some of them still even run COBOL if you chat to like a Paul Morley at Nedbank. But that migration into the cloud has been an interesting journey because it's allowed them now to be a lot more, what do they call it, nimble and adaptable and reflexive to the way the market changes. But it also comes, I mean, you've got to have an understanding of how every request generates a bit of cost as well. So it's not just doing it to save costs. And I think often they're myths that have to be exploded along the way. But how are you seeing banks actually using these tools if we look at things like cloud computing and AI? And are they seeing real returns, or is it still a case of kind of maybe a bit of hype over substance?
yeah, I think you're spot on there. I don't think the cloud adoption has fully been implemented yet. It's been in talk for many years. I think for like the last 5 years, the banks have been talking about cloud migrations, and now have had massive deals with cloud providers like AWS and Azure, and to big plans to migrate everything onto the cloud. But that hasn't really realized. I think maybe I'm going to take a guess. 30% of workloads have actually gone to the cloud. The rest still remain on-prem. And I think the main blocker is not necessarily that, cloud can't do the job. The complications of actually moving to the cloud. It's not an easy task. It takes a lot of effort. You still need to continue maintaining what you've built on-prem, and you need to take cost into consideration, governance. People are very scared about putting data in the cloud. So that's one of the biggest blockers. But it's I think the smaller and newer banks who are progressing well at that, because they don't have many legacy systems, so they can easily go into the cloud and start up new initiatives. So there are definitely some areas within these banks that are making great progress. And I think specifically with AI, that's where cloud, helps these organizations leverage those capabilities, so not having the infrastructure on-prem, but doing it in the cloud. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity that they are trading carefully, because it does come with risks.
In terms of AI, where do you see the biggest opportunity? Is it in using these models to now help credit score better? For example, turning a thin file into a thick file, customer being able to find new ways to lend to these customers that add value profitably, or is it more in a back end sense of using AI to improve your internal systems as a bank in the back end? Where are you seeing the biggest value?
I think it's in both of those. So, there's a lot of opportunities to improve customer experience. And, once again, like Jan mentioned earlier, it's all about the data, right? There's a lot of data available to get more insights on both your front end systems, what your customers are doing, plus your back end systems. So how to improve things internally. But then I also think there's a big impact that AI is going to make on efficiency of people. So giving people more capacity to do more meaningful work. So taking away the repetitive work. And if you asked me a year ago, what is the impact going to be of AI on our jobs? I was a big believer. Now it's a big hype and it's not going to do much. But, over the last 6 months, I'm starting to change my perception on that. Things are moving at such a rapid pace, and the improvements are coming so quickly. I really think it's going to get to a place very quickly where we're going to be working with agents, kind of next to us, doing repetitive tasks while we get to focus on the more complex tasks. So a big impact that's on its way.
Like I think augmentation of our current workforce is sort of the best way. I always look at. If you take an average developer who does normal Java or SQL or C# queries and do repetitive work, you can now punch that off to the agent to do that work for you while you focus on a more complex issues. So I think that is one thing where we can start now. Even on the consulting world, you can do much more quicker a write-up of a specific requirement with the help of a chat GPT, taking confidentiality, of course, into account. But it's that augmentation. I think it's really going to add value to people.
Huge productivity gains to be had there. Even in the media world, if you want to report on a judgment, for example, you can upload a PDF and get a summary of key points. You do have to kind of run through it to make sure that the model's not hallucinating. They seem to be improving with each new iteration, but it cuts down on significant time and that increases productivity. You can focus on the actual content you're producing at the end of the day. Do you think consumers, Jan, are feeling this as yet? And I'm just thinking as a kind of a bank client myself, am I feeling like AI is making an impact yet? I had a phone call, funnily enough, when there was a funny transaction at a strange time of day outside of the usual times I transact and also offshore. And it was generated by an AI assistant to say, Mr. Avery, is this you? We just want to double check. And it actually was. It was, I was doing something for my partner in London. But anyway, that's my first sense that these systems are actually starting to impact us as consumers. What's your sense?
So definitely, I think if we look at all our customers within South Africa, well, not only in South Africa, internationally, they definitely see the value in AI. I think in the end of, I would say, 2023, there was massive hype on AI, and it kind of changed the world. And I think everybody sort of took a break in the beginning of 2024 and realized, what we spend all this money, what are we spending? I think as we said, it is getting smarter, it is getting better. But it comes back to, I think the biggest issue that there still is before you actually can utilize AI, you need to get your house in order. You need to get your data in order. You need to get your security in order. You need to get your people's perception on AI in order. But with that being said, I can see our clients are seeing the value both in the back-end systems as well as front-end. Basically see how they can service better our clients and their clients as well. So yeah, I definitely see a change since I would say last year, from where it's sort of say, it's too soon, it's not there yet. I see more a thing of, what, we need to start looking at this. There is actual value in. So yes.
So then, Mark, when you sit down and think about where those big budget line items for digital transformation are being spent, what exactly is all this money being spent on? And please don't tell me it's not just on consultants and fancy dashboards. I mean, where would you advise your clients to be investing as they embark on this digital journey?
So I think, once again, it's all about the data. So it's about choosing the right platform for where you want to store your data. The data governance all around that. So data quality, investing time and money into getting that data as accurate as possible and in a timely fashion. And, a lot of the organizations are looking at more real-time data movement. So, and that's something that they've been struggling with. It's easy to say, I want a real-time application, but actually implementing it is actually quite complicated. So, I think a lot of investment will be going into that to change things from more batch-driven to real-time. And that just enables, better operational reporting, better opportunities for improving AI and using AI. And then also everybody's always going to have a big budget for AI. Last year was a lot of, I think, POCs. This year is going to be all about, maybe changing those POCs into something that's in production that can really start adding value. And I think that's where we as Monacle Tech, are really going to get our hands dirty and help make that possible. So, not just building AI frameworks or AI wrappers, but actually putting this into production, the whole ML ops process around that, so putting it into production, supporting it, monitoring it, making sure it's adding value, and that whole integration with existing applications. That's, I think, where the big focus and spend is going to be.
It sounds like a really fun place to be working, working at the cutting edge effectively. And just lastly, Jan, if you had to crystal ball gauge just for a moment, what is the desired long-term outcome, all of these investments in banking tech? How do you see this panning out over the next, say, 5 years, which I get is a long time given how quickly these technological innovations move. But where do you see this going?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, especially like you say, it's technology. I've heard a saying of this whole thing about generative AI. We think it's we're getting closer and closer, and in actual fact, it might be years away, or at this current moment, somebody might just figure it out, and all of a sudden there's this thing that can fix it to itself. But taking that in mind, I think the big thing, and you would probably hear us saying a lot about data this whole conversation, but I think that's the first thing. I think you can see within the banks, there's a big focus on getting your data right, getting it in the right platform. Cloud is, of course, on top of mind. PCVS 239, we thought it's something of the past, talking about data governance from a regulatory perspective. It is, again, a focus. I believe if you look at the European banking, they are looking at much more data governance, much more hands-on data governance, not just a checkbox exercise. And that's going to come from a regulatory point of view. So the banks, in a first point of view, they need to get their data sorted out. They know it, and it's going to be a requirement for them. So I think that will be the first focus. And with that is actually not doing it from a regulatory stance just to do it because you have to, but actually doing it for the value of it. And that's looking at, what, we have all this data now, we have it in a good format, then it's going into the AI space. And then it comes down to basically the end of it all. What is all this about? It's servicing their clients, our clients. Make sure that the clients that you have, that you can fulfill their needs, that you can tailor-made solutions specifically to them. And that's going to be possible with AI. So I see a much better banking system. I see a bit more regulations coming down the line for us. I see, again, a lot of investments. I don't think that investment of the CapEx numbers are going to go down with the banks. I mean, I think that's in actual fact, I think it's going to grow a bit more for the next coming years. But I think it's got to sort of, hopefully within the future, stagnate. And then when AI gets a bit more utilized, hopefully that will come down and we'll see better value. So that's sort of what I think.
Yeah, and clearly we see it in the global geopolitical chips and the way they're falling. There is an AI arms race because America, China, the two superpowers in the world, understand the importance of this technological revolution. Well, there you have it, Monacle Tech stepping into the future, armed with AI and cloud computing and a team that understand not only the business of banking, but the technology that underpins it as well. So if you're ready for the digital transformation, it doesn't matter. The train has certainly left the station. It's nice to know that you've got some ready partners who can help you make the right steps. Thank you very much to Jan Ehlers and Mark Beringer for unpacking this revolution here on Business Talk with me, Michael Avery.